Hey guys, I'm here to talk about the New Balance 442 V2 Pro. Good lord, New Balance. The name 442 makes sense, and the version 2 makes sense, but when you throw that all together in one name, bleh. Anyway, this is the New Balance 442 V2, and I just want to talk about it. Oh, wait. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna talk about the Team Edition. That's right. There are two different New Balance boots that they sell for the 442 V2 version. You have the Pro model, which, by the way, not the Pro model. This is the Team Edition, and you didn't even notice because this is the Pro model. What? So, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. What are the differences between the Pro model and the Team model, which you didn't even know there were any because until I mentioned it. So let's get into it. Alright, let's talk tech specs. So the 442 version 2, the Pro edition, has an has a premium upper leather material. The first edition of this boot definitely had kangaroo leather, and because I don't specify it, people have theorized that, oh, that's probably because it's a calfskin, and it might be, but honestly, it's just as nice as any calfskin upper you're gonna find on the market. So don't worry about, oh, is this a calfskin or kangaroo? It's really soft. So is it premium leather upper material? You know, they say redesigned stitching pattern, but whatever. Then has a supporter inner cushion pillows for improved fit and effortless comfort. People were really worried about getting blisters from these things, but honestly, they just kind of help hold your foot in place, and they don't really deter from the fit and feel of the boot. So no problems there. For the sole plate, they have a nylon plate. That just means a basic plastic that's good flexibility in the forefoot and stiff in the midfoot. Better than the previous version, but again, just something standard you'll find on the market. Nothing too crazy. Now, if we look at the tech specs for the Team Edition, the tech specs for this are a full grain leather material right here, but they don't say premium, so we definitely know this is calfskin. And then they don't have that heel pillows in the heel, but again, the heels just kind of basically feel the same. This feels a little bit more locked in. This just feels a little bit more traditional. And then their stud pattern is the old one for the old 442. And, you know, it's a TPU plate. Basically, again, plastic. A little bit more flexible in the forefoot. But again, that nice, rigid center. So, very solid sole plate. Again, it's just on the old, you know, the Tequila versions and the old Team 442 version and Pro version as well. You really can't complain about this sole. The insoles, this is the Pro variation. It's a bit thinner. They both have the same texture, which is kind of a grip control element, but again, it's more by design, not really much what they've done. It's nice, but it's a very small detail. And then the Team Edition is just a little bit thicker foam. Not to say this is more plush, just it's literally just thicker. And again, it has that same design. It feels a little less grippy, to be honest, but that's probably due just to how this is thicker than this, which, because it's softer, your foot just can dig in a little bit more. versus this, which is just a bit more of a stiffer surface, so there's less grip to hold. But again, they're both relatively the same. Insole, they both feel the same on feet. You're not really missing out when it comes to insole. Alright, let's compare and contrast some differences of this boot. So, both have synthetic midfoots. This one definitely feels, for the Pro version, feels a little bit nicer. The tongue also is a little bit nicer. And it also just kind of sits on your foot a little bit better. But performance-wise, they kind of act the same. So here's the synthetic. You see, this has a bit better of a, fake leather grain finish. This, it's a little bit more stiff that you can tell, oh, this is a synthetic. This, meanwhile, is doing a better job of mimicking a leather. This, yeah, it's doing its job, but definitely is a bit stiffer. The liner of the boots is very similar for both boots, but again, because of that stiffer synthetic, there's less, not that there isn't a liner there, but it's not as soft as the liner on the Pro variation. The Pro variation, the liner, it's just a little bit softer. If you look on the Pro variation, they have just a little bit more suede here. Here, they kind of scamp out on the suede on the midfoot. But once you're running around and your foot is locked in place, again, both boots feel very similar. To be honest, you would think with different materials from here to here that the boots would feel drastically different, but they don't. What you're gonna feel the difference is the sole plate. Now, do you want a little bit more flex in your forefoot? Or you want a little bit more spring back in your forefoot? That's pretty much what you're deciding when you get these two boots. Now, the only problem is the price. The Team Edition is $100. Meanwhile, the Pro Edition is $130, give or take, depending on the website you get. And they both fit the exact same, so you don't have to worry about sizing. And you can definitely tell the difference in the leather. But once you start breaking these in, they're gonna feel very, very similar. And yeah, you might say, oh, but I like the aesthetics of this boot. Trust me, no one's gonna notice the dots here versus not having dots there. And they both come in the same amount of colorways, so really there's not much to differentiate the two boots. What I will note though is that the Team Edition, for some reason New Balance has decided that their turf shoes and indoor shoes will only use the Team Edition. So turf bottoms, indoor soles, etc. will only have the Team Edition leather. And honestly, that's not so bad. Only problem with that is that they're competing with like some really high-end boots that are only, again, $30 more money. I guess they just did figure they wouldn't compete with that price range because the turf and the indoor models are again $100. So they figured, you know what, we're not going to compete in that price range. Let's not even bother. And meanwhile, they just kept the Pro to the firm ground. And really, you're thinking throughout this video, I'd tell you, you know what, save your $30 and get the Team Edition over the Pro. But to be honest, it's only $30 to get a boot that basically that people have compared to being a nicer Premier Free. I will say that the Premier 3 definitely has more leather, but because this boot performs such a good job at being light, fitting really well, I can see why people would make that argument. And because the sole plate's just a better sole plate than the Premier 3. So again, that's a kind of another topic, which boot is better. Point is that for only $30 more, you're getting a boot that's nicer than the Premier 3. And honestly, this is like kind of one of the best leather options on the market. I mean, you have obviously your Tiempos, but those are a very padded boot. Now, not to say this doesn't have any padding, but you know, you don't have the giant foam inserts on the top of the foot and on the side. You just have a bit of foam kind of just making the leather plush, which honestly I kind of prefer. I kind of like a leather boot that's not thin but just has a little bit of foam just to add a little bit of plushness to it. And you do get that with this Team Edition and the Pro Edition, but again, because that fit's just a little bit nicer with the tongue versus the Team Edition, and because that synthetic's just a little bit nicer, for $30 you're getting a boot that might be better than, you know, a Tiempo or a Copa, and those boots run you $230. So really, save $100 if you're going for those boots and get this one. And again, the team option's just not really worth it when yeah, it's similar, but the fit is it's so much better for $30. Again, very similar feeling boots, but when it's only $30, I'm gonna lean towards the Pro. You know, it's not one of those things where, you know, the Pro Edition is $100 more than the Team Edition. No, it's only $30. So I'm more willing to shell it out, especially for a boot so good as this one. If these were both comparable boots and, you know, they weren't that good, then I would say, you know what, just save your money and go with the Team Edition. But because they're both really good, you know, honestly would go with the Pro variation. Now, if you like the old sole plate and you don't really want to go with a new one, then by all means go for the Team Edition. Just know that this is a heavier boot. Like right now, I can just feel a difference, and I'm holding the Pro Edition in my left hand, which is much weaker. So, kind of decision you have to make on your own. But one, I would still recommend getting the Pro Edition. I still wanted to do today's video though, just to highlight the difference, because they are remarkably similar. I mean, when I started the video, I just brought the Team Edition out and you really wouldn't notice. And to be honest, if you put these on my feet blind, it would be really hard to notice. Only until I started running around would I go, oh, this is the Pro and that's the Team, because the fit here with the better tongue and the suede lining on the synthetic part is just that bit better. So something to keep in mind when deciding between the two boots. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that discussion on the differences between the Pro and the Team Edition. Again, very, very similar boots, but for $30 more, you get a premium leather lightweight boot, and for $30 less, you get a decent takedown model boot. You know, something within the, you know, Nike Academy range with their Tiempo. So you can buy this boot if you want to save the $30 and you prefer that sole plate, or you could splurge just a little bit and get what people are calling the best leather boot on the market. Your choice. Last thing, I want to point out that these boots are so similar that I kept trying to put, you know, one edition of the Team and one edition in the Pro when returning these to their boxes. I can't tell you how annoying it is going, wait, which boot is this? Again, very similar boots.